and spinifex grass found refuge deep in natural soaks and damp gorges. Arid Australia had arrived, and so had the quaternary. The slow drying of the continent had pushed kangaroos out of the trees and onto two legs. But as Australia drifted north, it blocked the flow of moisture to the west as well, pushing an upright ape to stand tall on the plains of Africa. But even more change was on its way. The Ice Ages. While Australia escaped the heavy ice sheets that remodelled the landscapes of the Northern Hemisphere, these cycles of freezing weather and glaciation sucked even more moisture from the sky. Sea levels dropped dramatically, exposing dry land from New Guinea to Tasmania. Plants grew even tougher and less nutritious. It was a climate change that pushed animals in a radical direction. Best seen with a swift descent into South Australia's Narracourt Caves. Paleontologist Gavin Prideaux has offered to guide me to the big game of Ice Age Australia. The ground under Narracourt is riddled with caverns, into which animals have stumbled and fallen to their deaths. As holes to the world above opened and closed over time, snapshots of a changing land were preserved in the subterranean darkness. In 1969, a team of scientific cavers pushed on into the bowels of the earth here, further than you might think sensible.
This is the famous squeeze.
So we're going through there?
Yes, we are going through there.
You're kidding me.
Nope. Helmet on the side as you come through the tight bit, and then just use your toes to push yourself along.
Some people do this for fun.
Blimey, this is tight.
And it probably is, if you like being the human meat in a mountain sandwich.
You through, Richard?
Ah, right, okay.
Okay.
Most of the mammals that entered these caves never made it out alive.
Well, here we are, Richard.
The pit of doom.
Certainly was.
When the first cavers emerged into the Victoria fossil chamber, they came face to face with a megafauna graveyard.
Megafauna means giant animals, basically. Big animals from the last million years or so. Animals like Diprotodon, about the size of a rhinoceros, probably weighed around 2.5 tonnes.
Diprotodon, the largest marsupial that has ever lived, grazed alongside the largest kangaroos of all time. Procoptodon Goliath grew over 2 meters tall.
It all relates to the fact that larger animals have a much lower metabolic rate, and that means they can survive on much rougher, less nutritious vegetation, becoming more and more widespread across Australia as the country dried out. And of course the carnivores, the meat eaters, get bigger because the herbivores get bigger.
This is the skull of Thylacoleo, Australia's marsupial supercarnivore. It had stealth, speed, and a bite force without mammalian equal. Thylacoleo was the top mammalian predator in Ice Age Australia. But not for long. A placental mammal made landfall somewhere on the northern coastline. It didn't fly in like the bats, or swim like the rats. This mammal must have come by boat.
The first human footsteps on Australian soil were made somewhere between here and the Kimberley and Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. The people came out of the setting sun from Indonesia in the northwest, and they came a staggeringly long time ago.
Modern science is now able to put dates on the arrival of the first people. Geochronologist Bert Roberts uses sand grains and laser light to peer back to the start of the human story.
So using the very best techniques we can at the present stage, we now think that people got to Australia maybe 50 or 60,000 years ago. And the very earliest occupations took place in the north of the country, maybe through Kakadu, maybe through the Kimberley.
Wherever those first people landed, they found themselves on a lonely, alien coastline. With the oceans rising behind them and a dangerous welcoming committee, they pushed on.
Once you push your way through the mangroves, you would have found a world unlike anything that you'd seen. There would have been gigantic tortoises with horns like a cow.
So there was a giant flightless goose-like bird called Genyornis.
Huge wombats, huge kangaroos, giant echidnas, even giant koalas.
60 species of short-faced kangaroos.
And giant goannas, about 5 times the size of a Komodo dragon.
It was a land of plenty. From the beachheads of the tropical north, it seems the first people spread rapidly south. Following the coast and tracking inland along the watercourses, they penetrated deep into the heart of the continent. Within only a few thousand years, it seems, people were camped by the shores of Lake Mungo in far western New South Wales. In 1969, fragments of a cremated skeleton were found weathering out of the bone-dry lakeshore. A second discovery soon followed. With dates firming at around 40,000 years, these are the oldest human remains yet found on the continent, and some of the oldest ritual burials in the world.
Roger that, stone 4 done.
This is bone 5.
The crumbling clay of the prehistoric lake edge is still